now to introduce our presenter for tonight's lecture. Eva Monheim is an award-winning speaker, ISA certified arborist, an award-winning educator, and a faculty member at Longwood Gardens for the Professional Horticulture Program and Continuing Education Department. She was an assistant professor at Temple University, where she taught 13 different subjects to undergraduate and graduate students in horticulture and landscape architecture. Eva's other endeavors are the award-winning The Plant a Trillion Trees podcast, which is heard in over 110 countries. She is the author of Shrubs and Hedges, Discover, Grow, and Care for the World's Most Popular Plants, which was nominated by the Council on Botanical and Horticultural Libraries for outstanding contributions to the literature of horticulture. Eva is co-principal of Verdant Earth Educators, a company that writes educational documents and standards, landscape management plans, and trains professionals in the green industry, as well as provides garden and landscape consulting. Eva is also an accomplished artist. And at this point, I will turn things over to Eva to get us started. Hi, Eva.
Hi, Amy. Thank you. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. And I really love Jenkins. It's probably one of the best arboretum and gardens in the region. And I say that with love and sincerity because I have visited many of them. And I just have a special place in my heart for Jenkins. Just FYI to everyone who's listening.
Yay, we love that.
I do. I talk about it a lot. I'm putting my name is up there with my email. Please don't hesitate to contact me for the handout for this evening. So you might be taking notes, but I can send you the handout via email. So with that, we'll get started. So this is my book that Amy was talking about, and I taught the shrub class at Longwood for a very long time in their certificate program, and this was the inspiration for the book. And I really feel like it's the plant that's like the last one to get attention, or grouping of plants to get attention. We had the annuals in the 40s and 50s, and then the perennials in the 70s, 80s, and all the way through now. And of course, trees. And now we're in the shrub era. And the one thing that I feel is most important to all of you, not to buy anything when you go to a garden center at first. If you are planning to put things into your garden for all seasons, for all different types of interest, you really want to go like every week, every other week, at least once a month, to go to the garden center and look to see what's in bloom. That way you'll know what is going to be blooming in your garden if you purchase something. And they usually don't sell things. Most of the time the things are in bloom so that they catch your attention and you're hooked, and then you're walking out with 10 and 15 plants. Measure your area before you go to the garden center, after you've been there a couple times. Measure the area, make sure that you're getting a plant that's going to fit in the area. When people tell me that they have to prune their shrubs have been here long before us, and you do not have to prune them. The only time you have to prune them is when they're in the wrong spot, or if they're the size, you pick the wrong plant for the size, or if it's has damaged or disease, that would be when you would be pruning. So just FYI. So I put a few things in here, the abelias, which are really beautiful, and these bloom pretty much all summer long, spring like May, all the way through till frost. So I put a few plants up here, and I wanted you to see. I have to hold on for 1 second. I have to pull my list out because the bar is in the way. This is scorpulus, which is the moonlight broom. And if anybody has been to England or Scotland, broom is one of the things you'll see in the countryside in bloom in the springtime. And it is just an amazing plant. And I know I used to have a flower shop, and we used to use this as a cut stem and in arrangements, and it's just wonderful. So if you're looking to have cut flowers to bring into the house, this is a good one. If you're looking for something that's going to be early bloomer, this is a good one. And it stays green. The stems stay green even when the leaves fall off. So that's a really good indication for a plant that is going to not look brown in the wintertime. So that's the broom, and it's in the bean family. Another one which I really love is Skimmia japonica. And this one here is a female. They're male and female plants because this one here has fruit on it. And you could see in this section right here in the center, that's the female stigmas, and then the blank anthers around the edge. Those are placeholders because there's no pollen on them. Just so you can kind of get an idea of the plant itself. It's low stature. This is classified as a subshrub. It's below the knee, and it's a great ground cover. So we're going to start with fall first. Fabulous fall color. And I think I better turn my light on here too. I don't know how bright that's going to be. That's not going to work. I'll have to keep that off for right now. Okay. So the Aronia arbustifolia brilliantissima is the red chokeberry. And the red chokeberry is a wonderful plant if you're going to be planting around a pond or some type of water feature. But also you can plant it if you have a deck. And if your deck is really high up, you can plant it so that it's right underneath your deck or along the base of your deck so that you can actually see the foliage and the fruit from above, because that's how the birds find it too. They are looking from above, and that's how they glean it. The birds will eat this later in the season. And a really interesting little hint here that you can tell any aronia by these little hairy glands down the midrib of the leaf. And I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but I'm going down the midrib of the leaf, and you can actually see these little black hairy glands. So that's aronia, and aronia is usually bare at the bottom, so you can plant beautiful perennials underneath and have like a layered look for your garden. These are the blooms in the springtime, and I just wanted to show you those. And you can tell that they've been pollinated when they turn brown like this. Notice the pink ones are, oops, sorry about that. The pink ones are still fertile, and the brown with the brown pollen, they have been fertilized already. Another aronia, which is melanocarpa, this one here is called Viking, a black chokeberry. If you love to make jams, jellies, juices, this is the plant for you. You can do a hedge of it, which is really wonderful. They are very tart, but they're extremely high in antioxidants. And in fact, I always like to tell the little story that the Polish immigrants, when they came here, this is the plant that they went after, and they sent it back to their relatives back home. And they have the largest production of aronia in the world, making juices, jellies, jams, and other medicinal products from our American chokeberry. So I think that's kind of interesting. Had beautiful fall color in oranges and melons. And here, this was taken at Northview about a month ago, Jenny Rose Carey's house, and she has a beautiful Viking. She has a couple of them. And this one here I used for my book. I work with proven winners. I don't get paid by them, but I was invited there to look at their collection of shrubs and for my book. And they were just very generous and said, come out and stay for a couple days and walk around our testing area. So I said, okay. So I did. And I was so intrigued by this new plant that came out called Aronia melanocarpa Yukon Nam, which is the low scape mound black chokeberry. Now, the low scape mound chokeberry gets to be about knee high, and it is fantastic for hillsides. So if you have a hillside that you don't want to mow, this is perfect. Put it in full sun. It will do gangbusters and it will produce masses of fruit. And again, this is great fall color too. So here it is at Longwood Gardens on the left. I recommended that they get it, and they did. They got a lot of it, and they used it in their vegetable gardens. And this is what it looks like in the fall. The berries start to turn a dark color, or very dark. And then if the birds don't eat it, you can pick it. But the fall color is just spectacular. And these are pictures from a spring meadow in their large research area. But you can see how it covers, it spreads by rhizomes. So it's really a nice plant to have. It just keeps multiplying. The next one is Hemimalis virginiana, which is the common witch hazel. This blooms in September all the way through to December. I think we underuse this greatly. And it does really well in riparian areas, but also on slopes and in a regular garden. Any regular garden, it can get to be quite large. And the fragrance is really like medicinal smelling. And if you have ever used witch hazel on your skin, which is what it's used for an astringent, this one here is what witch hazel's made from. And I think it's like I said, way underused. And you could bring these into the house and cut them as a cut flower. Really wonderful. They will hold their leaves until about December, when they all drop, and then the show is waiting underneath, which is the yellow flowers. Another one which very few people know about is Xanthorrhiza simplicissima, which is yellowroot. Yellowroot is a wonderful subshrub. It's below the knee. And the first time I saw this was at Mount Cuba Gardens. And Mount Cuba had this, and I was like, what am I missing? How did I miss this? And it looks like celery when it's totally green. It's that bright green celery-like look, but it's a great ground cover for between trees, under trees, spots where it might be hard to grow things. This is the plant that you want to plant in those areas, and just plant it and forget it. No weeds come up through it. And I love that plant. So the next one is Viburnum nudum winter tour, which is the possum hall viburnum. I'm showing you this one here. I just think the coloring is just exquisite. The berry color is wonderful, and the berries are edible. You can eat these, but birds, if you could beat the birds to it. Again, you could plant that in a wetland too. This one here is, you're probably thinking, why is she showing us Rhus tufina, staghorn sumac, when you see it all along the highways? But it is one of the most forgiving plants as far as salt tolerant, heat tolerant, drought tolerant. It could grow in poor soils. That is just incredible. And there's lots of variations of the species. But if you're a connoisseur and like to cook, those heads are used in Middle East cooking to make za'atar. And I love za'atars, and this plant can accommodate you. But also those heads are used and were used by our native populations for vitamin C. If you have a vitamin C deficiency, or you want to take vitamin C, don't take a pill. You could take one of these and like take a cup of tea from this, and you'll get fortified with vitamin C. So it's a really neat plant, and it is very forgiving. Male and female on separate plants. And here it is in a riparian area. I used to do a lot of riparian work in Cheltenham Township, where I used to live. And this was a massive planting that was done by John Monroe and our team working with him, planting along the Tookaney Creek Parkway. This one here I love too. This one here is Rus copalinum, the shiny or winged sumac. The wing is right here where the rachis is. This is the rachis. And this is one leaf from here to here. It's a compound leaf, pinnately compound. And the leaflets are hooked into the rachis, and that rachis has a wing on it, hence a winged sumac. But it's also very shiny, so some people call it shiny sumac. This was taken at Temple University, and it was on a hillside. So, again, on a hillside, male and female plants separate. The female fruiting bodies are just beautiful, and they look like big tassels. And again, those can be used by humans for making tea and other concoctions. This one here is called Rus tufina baltiger, tiger eye sumac. This one here is from the Laccionata variety, and they found this Laccionata that was yellow. And I happened to be lucky enough to help introduce this through Bailey's Nursery out of Minnesota. And I was like taken back because I do like Rus. And I said, wow, this is really amazing. And they said, oh, well, this is really like a male, but it turns out that the one I have is a female. And it has the beautiful yellow color and it has the lacy leaves, but it produces nice, the nice staghorns on it. So this is another variation which can be planted on hillsides again in riparian areas, etc. And here it is in the fall. Brilliant, brilliant colors. Another Rus is a Grollo aromatica. This is the fragrant sumac. Fragrant sumac, this particular one is very neat looking. It's very compact compared to the species tall and a little bit more gangly, but I have seen the tall one trimmed into hedges, which are really spectacular looking. So there's a good case in point if you want to do some pruning and you want to make something look a little tidier. That one there really does make a good hedge. This one here is lower, so this is used on hillsides. And we had an issue down at Temple main campus on one of the slopes outside the art building, and it was designed, and the architect didn't allow for enough of a gradual grade, and it was a steep slope, and they had a disaster with the mud flowing into I think it was like 13th Street, and the trolley couldn't go and the bus couldn't go, and it was a mess. So they said, well, what do you think we should plant here? I said, I think you should plant, try Rus, see what happens. And the gentleman who is the head horticulturist down there went to Longwood Gardens. So we kind of made a friendship. And I said to him, yeah, try that and see what happens. And boy, did it hold the hillside back. It was like the best thing since sliced bread. So, you have to really think about what you're doing. It has a nice deep root system and it intermeshes with one another, so you have a good stable hillside. And this is the species that's not as compact, and like I said, it's more gangly, but the coloration is what I wanted you to see on this one, which is what you're going to have on the shorter one too, but it'll be more red. Another plant, which I think never gets enough attention, and of course, for a long time, we didn't even know it existed here in our region, called Calocarpa americana, the American beautyberry. And the first time I saw it was, I'm a garden writer, so we went on our trip to Oklahoma City, and I was blown away by Oklahoma to begin with, but I had a Native American friend who was in this area when we were looking at these plants, and he said, well, this is the end of the Trail of Tears. And what we planted here as a native population, we planted all of our medicinal plants at the end of the Trail of Tears to remind us of our holistic background and our medicinal uses that have kept us alive along a long journey, which I thought was such a wonderful idea. And so when I saw that, I said, I have to get pictures of it, and I'm going to take it back and find out who's growing it. And there were very few people who were growing it. And I kind of asked around, and a couple of nurseries said, well, let's try it. And they tried it, and people liked it. And so it became very popular. It's popular now. The berries are much bigger and bolder than the dichotoma, which is the Asian form. They're much smaller. This one here, one of my former students bought it under my recommendation, and she made the most amazing jam from it. The jam was, it had a slight medicinal taste to it, but I felt like I can't go wrong eating this jam because it's so good. And it doesn't taste like it's too sweet or anything like that. It was delicious. So just FYI for something like that. And there are the berries. And the birds will come and glean them. Another plant, which actually, and I will have to turn this light on. I'm sorry, I'm kind of working around here. The sun just went down. Baccharis halamifolia, the groundsel bush. This one here used to be very popular here in the state of Pennsylvania, but for some unknown reason it disappeared. And we're not sure how it disappeared, but it did. And it's a really important plant for wetlands, stabilizing wetlands along wetland banks and in waterways and things like that. And I started teaching it, and I never realized how old it could get. We had some really old ones. Ours was almost 100 years old on our campus. And then someone decided that they were going to try to prune it and pruned it to the ground, and it never came back up. This thing had a trunk like, it was huge. It was enormous. And but the seeds come about now at this time of the year. So I noticed that the highway people in Pennsylvania started planting it along the 95 corridor between the bridge from over the Schuylkill down to the airport. And if you travel down that way, keep your eyes open. You're going to see this in bloom right now, and you're going to see how amazing it looks in the wetland areas. It is really, and it does well on dry land too, because this is a dry spot where I took this photo. It just has a really nice look to it. So that's Baccharis halamifolia, or groundsel bush. And there's also, if you go down like into New Jersey and into Delaware, you'll see it along waterways too. Even in the brackish waters, you'll see it. So it's very salt tolerant. That was one of the reasons why they put it along 95, because it is very salt tolerant. And here's the flower up close. You could see that this is in the Asteraceae family. This tiny little seeds, really, really soft and fuzzy. It is toxic. Just want to tell you that. Cattle will not eat it. Deer won't eat it. It's not something they will eat because it is poisonous. And I wanted to show this one too, because this one here I think is a real fun one. Cornus sanguinei, the midwinter fire. I had seen this when I was studying over in England, and I saw it around a lake. And if you can imagine, like in the dead of winter, and you're walking through a botanic garden, and you come across this reflected in the water, it's like, oh my goodness, it's like, it just grabs you and takes your breath away the way it looks. Now, this was planted at Temple. It was in the winter garden, just to kind of give people ideas as to what can be utilized. Now, notice that the younger stems at the very bottom of the picture are the newer ones, are more fire-like. So you can actually cut the old ones down, and if you like to make baskets, you can use that for making baskets, or you can use them for staking, or you can do a myriad of things with the wood that you cut out from the older portions. So that's pretty much the rule with all the shrub dogwoods, that if you take a third of them out, or take out the oldest canes and leave the younger ones, you're always going to keep that brilliant color in the landscape. And here's another one. This is Cornus alba, Argento marginata. This one here is the Tartarian dogwood. And this was outside my office at the university, and I love this when I saw it in the fall when it would come into its fall color. This is actually its fall color. Green leaf that turns this gold color with a white margin. A very pretty, this is a shorter statured plant. The American euonymus, we talk about the invasive species, the burning bush, but most people don't know we have an American euonymus. We have several American euonymus, and I think that those several are really important because if we were to promote those instead of the invasive forms, we would be much better off. Now, this one here I saw at Sadler's Wood in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's one of the very old plots of land that had not been touched since William Penn's time. It was the first Black gentleman inherited it as a gift to him, or as and it's still preserved. And so it has all kinds of old specimens on it. And I went on a tour there. And I thought, what is this shrub that's elongated? It's like round and moundy, but it wants to elongate. And it was the American Euonymus americanus. And it has green stems and has these beautiful, what they call a hearts of bustin or strawberry bush, and these beautiful berries. So I started to read up on it, and it turns out that this plant really loves deer, and it loves deer because the deer, when they come to nibble on it, their hooves, the weight of their hooves, trigger the roots to grow new shoots. So that as long as you have deer around, you're always going to have new shoots coming up from the ground to ensure that the shrub keeps getting bigger to feed the herd. And I think that's so fascinating because there's a couple plants that we're going to talk about tonight that are like that. So deer have an important part in our landscape. So we do have a lot of them, and we have a lot of them up here where I live, and I talk to them all the time. But they are so funny and smart, very smart. And these are the berries. Notice the green stems too, because they stay green like that all winter. Another one which I think is way underused is Viburnum acerifolium, which is the maple leaf viburnum, and it can be that dark red, or if it's in deep shade, it'll be that pink at the base of that underneath those berries. Really beautiful. The berries are really great for birds. Fantastic plant. That's what the real bright red leaf. And then Parodia persica. This plant from Persia, that's where it gets its name. And it is the most spectacular plant, has the most beautiful bark, and it has these beautiful leaves. Now, it will bloom in late winter with a burgundy colored strappy flower. It's in the Hemimalidaceae family, which is the witch hazel family. So it acts very much like a witch hazel. The leaves look like a witch hazel too. I love that plant. And they also come in tree form too, shrub and tree form. This is Vaccinium corymbosum, our high bush blueberry, which we can't live without. We started the game here at White's Bog in New Jersey. That's where the first cultivated blueberries started. And from there, they went around the world. And so when I hear people talk about blueberries, they never mention New Jersey. But New Jersey is where it started at White's Bog. This is Jersey. Another plant, which is spectacular, is Enchanthus perulatus, which is J.L. Pennock. Liddon Pennock was came from a Quaker family. They were given a land grant from William Penn, and their area that they were in was Meadowbrook, Rydal area. And Liddon Pennock owned one of the most illustrious flower shops in the country. And here in Philadelphia, and our Philadelphia was always the epicenter for cut flowers and cut flower production in greenhouses. And they named this plant after him because he was such an avid plantsman. Also, a Meadowbrook farm through PHS was left to PHS by him for the garden that he has there. But this is a beautiful plant, and you're going to see it. I have it again for spring and bloom. It's in the Ericaceous family, so it likes acidy soils, but beautiful fall color. And here's another one. This one here is Lindera angustifolia. This has gone through quite a number of name changes, but this is in front of Longwood Gardens. This will hold its brown. The leaves eventually turn brown after they're orange, and they stay on the plant all winter long. So it kind of gives you some rustling sounds in the landscape. So sounds are important in the landscape, and having these leaves on there lets you know that the plant is still there and it's still doing its purpose by blocking. It actually helps to buffer areas when they keep their leaves on during the wintertime. Bold and subtle winter. Well, where would winter be without our little squirrels? They climb the trees and they like to eat the buds. And we know that the buds are starting to break when the squirrels are up in the tree, especially elm trees. That's their favorite bud. So I thought I would show you some of the beautiful winterberry holly. And this one here is one from Cape Cod. This is from a Tiasquam from Polly Hill Arboretum. And this is probably one of the tallest ones. It gets to be about 15 feet tall. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So if you want something that has really long sweeping branches and you want to use that as a cut branch, this is the one you want to get. It's a great plant, and it looks good in a really tall hedge too. This one here is called Maryland Beauty. Maryland Beauty was found along the Highway of 95 when they were looking for, when they found this holly, and they were like, what? It has so many berries on it. But these plants adapt themselves to the environment. And if you are along a flyway, a major flyway like we are living in right here in Philadelphia and down the East Coast, we are on the Eastern Coast mid or Atlantic Flyway. And the Atlantic Flyway has to have plenty of food sources. And I thought to myself, maybe this genetically changed because there wasn't enough berries, and maybe there were so many birds that there wasn't enough food for them. And plants are triggered by bird movement. And if if there's a lot of bird movement, that would actually trigger the plant to make more berries for the following year. So that kind of, that kind of thought. So here's a plant that has adapted itself, changed genetically enough to create a berry show like none other. And this little diminutive lamb, I just love this one. For a long time, we all thought its real name was Red Sprite, but that's the trade name. The real name is Nana. It doesn't get any bigger than maybe 3.5 feet, maybe 4, pushing it. This is the tiniest or the most diminutive of all winterberry hollies. So if you want to have a holly, this is a really nice one for a hedge, a small, low hedge. But the reason why I'm showing you all these hollies is that they all ripen at different times. So if you have 5, 6, 7 different types of winterberry holly in your garden, you will be able to feed birds all season, pretty much from the time the berries ripen all the way through till springtime, so that there's always something for them to eat. So think about that when you're looking for, and I know that Jenkins has, I think it's Poppins, is one of the names. Let me just take a look here and see. I think it's yeah, Berry Poppins. Berry Poppins is one that they will have at the Arboretum in the sales area. So a lot of these will be in the sales area. So just think about that too. I kind of wanted to tie it in with the sales area because there's not many places that have a really good plant selection. Jenkins does. The winter gold, this one here is spectacular. It holds up really well. Winter red does too. They both hold up exceptionally well. They are not prone to ethylene drop. And when I had the flower shop, these two were really important because when you have a flower shop and you need to have really high quality plants, this is one that we use as a cut berry. The other thing with this is birds eat berries according to color. The first berries they eat all the time are the high in antioxidants, the dark blues and blacks. The next berry is the reds, oranges. Those are the next color. Golds are the third color. Usually whites are the last. Purples will be in the red and blue category. But whites will be last. And I have a plant in here that has white berries on it. Um, Usually they turn brown before they ever get eaten. This particular plant, I love this one here too, is Ilex X uh, Aquapernii Mishik. And this one here is Dragon Lady. It's sold as Dragon Lady Holly. It is very spiny. It's very spiny. If you want to keep people out of some place, this is the shrub for you. And it has a beautiful visual because the new foliage comes out a purpley red color, russety color, and it changes color as it ages. So I love this one. I love the fact that there's that little bit of interest in the leaf, and notice how sharp those spines are. Another great one is Ilex attenuata Foster, the Foster Eye Holly. Foster Holly is a cross between Ilex cassine, the southern holly, with our Northern American holly, Ilex opaca. The cross happened naturally, and it was discovered on a plant expedition. And so when they found it, they said, well, look at this. This has smaller leaves than the American holly. It has spines, half not spines. This is really amazing. And it's narrower than our American holly. So you can put this into a smaller location than American holly, because American holly can get pretty big. This one here gets tall, but more narrow in its nature. Another great one is the inkberry holly. Inkberry hollies are so fantastic. In fact, I like to go bogging with my friends. There's a group of us ladies that go, and we just love looking at plants. But this one here is adapted to fire too, because underneath our pitch pines in New Jersey, that fire that happened this past spring, we saw between huckleberries and Ilex glabra coming up several weeks after the fire. That's how quick they come back. So this is a really adorable, amazing plant. And the berries were used to make ink. You can get them in lots of different forms. Some of them are shorter and very, very round, but the species usually holds its foliage towards the top 1/3 of the shrub. And that's because they're usually found in tidal areas or riparian areas where it might flood. So why would I want to have any leaves down below when I want to keep my berries up high to make sure that everybody gets fed and my pollination happens up above and away from the water? So strategy there. This is another great Cornus sericea flavoramia, the yellow twig or gold twig dogwood. And with that is the Thuja occidentalis nigra, the hedge in the background. I love this picture. I just happened to have taken it when I would kind of go and do a lot of walks there, because I've done a lot of woody plant books for Longwood. And this is one that I just adore. Just think it's just perfect for the holiday. Another one, which is Juniperus virginiana, but this one here is a blue one. It's a blue form, and this one here is called Blue Mountain, and this does not go upright. This is spread, so this is a really beautiful one, and it gets berries. So male and female also on Juniperus virginiana. All the junipers are male and female separate, and this one here is very berry-icious when it starts to put off berries, and you can see them right here. These berries, I'm not sure if you all are aware, this is where we get our pickling spices from. They're used in pickling spices, but you can taste these if you're ever out there and you want to taste a berry. They're good. They're used for medicinal purposes. And this one here, I think, is probably the most expensive hedge I've ever seen. This is at Longwood Gardens. And this is Chamaecyparis obtusa nanogracilis, which is the small form of Chamaecyparis obtusa, which is the Hinoki cypress. My friend introduced this plant for the very first time at the Philadelphia Flower Show way back when. And when he had it, he said, Eva, let's put it in a place where people are going to see it. I said, okay. So I was helping him putting his exhibit together. And people went nuts over it. They went nuts over it because it's the most amazing looking plant. It's a very slow grower. So this one here only gets trimmed every now and then when it starts to get a little bit unmindful. And it gets a little, sprout here and a sprout there, they go in and trim it out. But the beautiful rounded ends of those stems are caused by the lateral branches growing over the terminal, creating this rounded effect, which is really spectacular. I think it's spectacular. It's ingenious of the plant. So that is, and again, that's a really expensive hedge. And here is one, I saw this at one of my garden writers tours where the gentleman topiaried it, which I thought was beautiful. This one here, for a long time, Akuba japonica, this one here is called gold dust, Japanese Akuba. For a long time, we couldn't grow this here. And if you did see it, it was tucked into a little microclimate in someone's backyard, usually a brick house with a brick little enclosure in the back where the microclimate would keep it warm. But now that we've warmed up so much, that's like 35, 40 years ago. You see these all the time. Now, again, this is male and female have different plants, and the female gets red berries on her. And she is beautiful when she has that. But I like them plain too, because this is another good cut green, a really good cut green. And it looks like this and it holds its foliage all winter long, which is what I love about it. This one here we used to joke about with some of my classes at Longwood Gardens, called D. Runk, Buxus sempervirens D. Runk. And I don't know who D. Runk is, but I love her because look at how she's shaped. This is the natural form of this boxwood. It's like pyramid in form, so you rarely have to prune it. When I say you shouldn't have to be pruning everything, this one here doesn't really, not unless you really are anal about, you get the tape measure out and you're measuring everything. And there's a case for that, and this is at Longwood, and they have this in their flower garden walk, and here it is. It looks beautiful and rarely does it need much at all. So that's D. Runk, Buxus sempervirens. And another one that I love too is Juniperus squamata, the single seed juniper. And this one here is called Blue Star. Blue Star has been around for a very long time. And what you're seeing that gives it that blue color are stomata that are on the upside of the plant, on the needles, or the aw is what they're called. Cupressus has two different types of leaves. They have scale and they have aw. These are aw. And aw are considered to be juvenile, where scale is considered to be mature foliage. So this is kind of telling you it's just a really beautiful plant that is growing and doesn't really produce many berries, not many at all. And this, like I said, this has been around. Great container plant. If you want a container plant and you want something evergreen, this is a good one. Another one which I love is the Chamaecyparis piscifera folifera aurea, which is the gold-threaded Japanese false cypress. And I love this plant, although this had been pruned. This did not need to be pruned, but where it was, I guess they thought maybe it would be a little bit over the top. It's very graceful. It almost looks like a waterfall as the foliage just falls over these long strands. The actual folifera means filament. So that filament is hanging downward, and the aurea means yellow. So that's how you get the name folifera aurea, or the gold-threaded cypress. Love this plant. It stays pyramid in form like that. Give it a lot of space so that you can use it as a focal point in your garden. Love it, love it, love it. This is another great one. This is Juniperus virginiana Taylor. This is a male, and it's supposed to give us an opportunity to have something like they have in Italy, the Italian cypress that are not hardy here. So what can we have to make an Italian-like garden or Italianate garden? This, Taylor, Juniperus virginiana Taylor. And I love this because think about down in the city where there's not a lot of space and you want to plant something that can handle the heat, handle salt, handle whatever it's thrown at it. This can handle it. But in a narrower space, 3 by 3, It can grow in a 3x3, the tree pits that we have down there. But I was thinking maybe a hedge along a house where you want a green buffer or something that you're going to feel coolness in the heat of the summer. Great plant. And of course, I took this picture down at Georgetown in Washington, D.C. When my daughter was living down there with her husband. And I saw this and I said, oh my gosh, we were down there for Christmas. This was the 26th of December, and this was fully in bloom. In fact, some of the blooms were already falling. But I thought, oh my gosh, and this was in the shopping district. And I said, wow, this is amazing. And right now, you're probably going to, if you go to Longwood Gardens, you're going to see something really amazing happening. You're going to see that they're taking all their camellias out of the main conservatory. And the reason for that is they're putting them into the understory because it's too hot in the conservatories anymore, and they do much better outside. So they're not going to have the camellias in the conservatory anymore. Surprise! Maybe I just destroyed that for everybody. But you can have them blooming at Christmas time. Hemamelis and this, yeah, you could see the flowers are beautiful in this, and there's lots of different types of flowers, peony-like, rose-like, you name it. This plant is a legend on the on the campus of Longwood. This is a vernal witch hazel, and I believe that this one here was one part of the original grouping that were brought to our region way back when, at the turn of the 20th century, from the Ozark region in the central part of the country. And this one here is not as cold tolerant as our witch hazel, and it also blooms at a different time. This blooms in late winter. And I want to tell you something. This does not have that medicinal smell like the Virginiana does. This one here smells very sweet and delicious. And the strappy petals that we saw on Virginiana are much more compressed on this one because it opens up when it's much colder. And so what it does is it just closes its leaves up to protect its sexual parts, and then when it's warm enough, it opens back up again and allows the pollinators to pollinate it. It's a fantastic plant. I love it. And this one here has air layered on the base of, so it just kind of keeps spreading. We had one at Temple, which I believe was part of the same grouping, which was close to 100 years old, and we pruned it out. And I have it in my shrub book. But it's upright. This one here is a spreader rather than an upright one. The next one is, and here's a little petals. You can see that. They're really fun looking. Oh, and the fuzzy covering on these is a protection. Just think like we wear coats in the wintertime. Plants wear coats too. Those are to protect their flowers from getting too cold. This particular plant I love. This is at Morris Arboretum. The Jasmine nudiflorum. We have it at Longwood too, hanging down a back wall where the public doesn't see it. It can cover a myriad of ugliness. And that's what I like about it. If you have an ugly area that you want to cover over, this is perfect. This is like the perfect plant. It will be as happy as can be. Nobody will ever know it's ugly underneath it. This one here happens to have a beautiful stone wall, however. Jasmine nudiflorum is the winter jasmine, and it is like in February that this will bloom. And the stems will be green, and then they'll put on the leaves later. But it always looks like it's green because of the stems. And this is the one at Longwood, covering up that ugly concrete wall. Another good plant, which is Mahonia aquifolium, the Oregon gray polly. This one here I'm very intrigued with because when I was living in England, I was walking through this woodland one day and I'm smelling something and I thought, oh my gosh, what is that wonderful smell? Well, it was Mahonia bealii, which is the European form of this one. This one here is our West Coast native Mahonia. This is from the West Coast, and they actually make jellies and jams from the berries. They look like grapes hanging on the fruit, on the shrub, but the fragrance is so sweet and delicious. I love it, and I've known about this when I had my landscaping company way back when. And when I wanted to bring it in here to this part of the country, I had to ship it in from Monrovia, California to get it here. And then we had to put it in a place that was protected because it wasn't always guaranteed that it was going to survive the winter, but now it does. So I just love it. Another one, which you probably know, is Pieris japonica, the Japanese Pieris. I think this one here is, again, comes at a time when we really need to see something blooming, but also I had one in front of my old house, and I would take cuttings of it and bring it in February and put it in a vase, and you could smell the entire house just fills with the wonderful Pieris fragrance. This is also in the Ericaceous group. This is all part of the azalea heath family. Really an amazing plant. And the last one in this group is Abelia phyllum disticum, which is classified as the white forsythia or the Korean forsythia. And I love this because if you like to design flowers like I do, this, you can cut this early on and force it and have something like, people are going to say, where did that come from? And it has a really good fragrance too. It should be used more, and it's not. Burst of Spring. Well, this is at Winter Tour. And this one here is Cornell Pink of the Rhododendron mucronulatum. It is a rhododendron. It's a true rhododendron. How do you tell a rhododendron from an azalea? The stamens, the number of stamens. Rhododendrons have 10, azaleas have 5. And if for some reason you find some that have 7, that is a cross between an azalea and a rhododendron. Even they're all called rhododendrons. That cross will give you a 7 account on the stamen. So just FYI, just a little trivia there. And here is the species form. This one here is Rhododendron mucronulatum, the Korean rhododendron. And we have a lot of those at Longwood Gardens on the upper path on the hillside garden behind the bell tower, which is just spectacular with the corylus in the springtime. The yellowish citrusy color corylus with this beautiful rhododendron it just takes your breath away. It's really spectacular. And one of my favorites, and of course I have, everything's a favorite, but now that this is in front of me, it's a favorite. This one here is the PJM rhododendron. And when I was doing some research for the university and for the book, I called Weston Nurseries up in Massachusetts. They are the ones who developed this one. They crossed this with the Carolina rhododendron and the rhododendron doricum, which is from Asia. And when they crossed it, they were looking for something that was hardy and would hold its leaves during the wintertime up in the Northeast. And so this came about. And it is probably one of my favorite of the rhododendrons because it turns a mahogany color and this reddish color in the wintertime and keeps its leaves beautifully. And that's it at the university in front of one of the old homes there in full bloom with its leaves on. And I want to tell you something, if that and the Pieris together blooming early, this is a really early, this comes right after mucronulatum blooms. Mucronulatum, then PJMs, and then all the other varieties bloom afterwards. So this one here is a really great one. I hope you like it. Not everybody likes the color, but there's a range of colors. They have soft pinks and deeper purples and so on. Now, this one here is probably one of the most famous of the Cyrus chinensis, which is the Chinese redbud. This one here is shrub like. You really can't trim this into a tree, but think about this as a hedge, and then maybe have something that's lower in between so that you have a couple different variations of plants mixed in your hedgerow so you don't have these massive solid arborvitae hedges. You know, the diversity is very important to keep a healthy hedge. And I love what they're doing over at Stoneleigh because you can find their hedges are all mixed with different plants. And I would love to see this with maybe a viburnum rotidiphyllum or even the mahonia or something like that, where you're going to get bloom and then bloom and then bloom and then bloom and then bloom. So that this is blooming, this hedge is blooming all year, each plant taking its turn. This is in the pea family, and those flowers are edible, and so are the pods. But you have to get them when the pods are young, when they're still tender. And I think it's great. It's a really good one. Now, I love Fothergilla. It is a native plant. It comes from the south, and it only is found in maybe 40 counties in all of the United States, which is not many. And I think, oh, this is something that people need to realize that if you see something that is not in great number, we need to mass produce it so that we don't lose it. And here is at Chanticleer, they have Fothergilla gardeniae, the dwarf Fothergilla. And this is also in the Hemamelis family, the witch hazel family, because it has strappy petals. Those strappy petals are the sign of the Hemimelidaceae family. And these look like little tiny bottle brushes, but they're so pretty and they're so fragrant and they attract so many pollinators. Early in the season, you could see here the Crytalis that's blooming at the same time. Really very pretty. And here they are spent already, but you get an idea that they look really, and I love the fragrance. Now, this is something that I grew up with when I was a child. My uncle bought an old estate, and what was on it was Curia, Curia japonica. But this is plena, and they had plena on their property too. Plena does not seed in, so you don't have to worry. But typically, it's not really an invasive plant. But people like to call anything they don't like invasive, so you have to be careful of that too. So this was I took this at Temple University main campus. This was the head administration building. And this was in the planting well outside the windows of the first floor. Now, can you imagine coming into work and seeing that when you get into your office? I mean, to me, I would think, wow, I want to come to work. Look at the beautiful Kyria in bloom. But it's a really good cut flower to bring inside. And the stems stay green in the wintertime too. And beautiful foliage once the foliage comes on. It has a beautiful lobing on the ends of the margins, leaf margins. And there's the flower. Another one, which is a native, this one here is Lindera benzoin, our spice bush. This one here, and I put the fall color in so you can see that it goes from yellowy, citrusy color to a golden color in the fall. And this one here, it kind of mimics the flower of a Cornus moss, only much, much smaller. This is really tiny. And these flowers fill our understory in our woodlands. In the early springtime, you'll see it. And I know at Longwood, we have a woodland in the back behind where the public can't go. And it's just massively covered with these in bloom. Deer hate this plant. They will not go near it. So my recommendation is if you have a plant that you don't want the deer to eat, mix it in, make sure you have some of this around it because the deer won't go near it. This is a really good plant. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not professing anything here. Just know to let you know what I do. I take the leaves when they're green and I make a tea for coughs. It's really good. I love it. And the little buds are actually used as a spice. It's spicy. You can even eat them. They're delicious. So another one, Itea virginica. Henry's Garnet. Henry's Garnet is named after the Henry Foundation. Michael Durr discovered this on Scott Arboretum's campus, and then Scott said, well, we have to look up where we got it from, and they found out that it came from the Henry Foundation, so they said, okay, let's call it Little Henry. Henry's Garnet, because the fall color is garnet. And this is another plant for slopes. Plant it, forget it. This is at Longwood, no longer there. They ripped it out when they built the new conservatory, but Never had to do anything to this, ever. Another one, rhododendron orodoxa, variety Fargesii. Farges was a plant explorer, and this one's named after him. And I just love this one. It's a really early bloomer too. It's like right after PJMs, and this is at Winter Tour. When this comes into bloom, it is really spectacular. This very pale pink, and I love it against that blue, rich blue background of sky behind it. It's a tall one. It gets to be about 10 to 12 feet tall. And this one here is our Pinkster Bloom azalea. This one here is taken at Albury Arboretum in their right outside their administration building. Just a beautiful grouping. You'll also find Pinkster Bloom along stream banks. My aunt used to have at her home, which was from the 1600s. They had this along the stream banks in that region. And of course, our Keenamalis japonica. This one here is a beautiful flowering quince, and they produce an apple. The blooms on this, and again, we used to get this in the flower shop. You could actually get this tall stems and force them open. And the earlier the bloom, the more money we could get for it, because people hadn't seen our spring blooms yet. So we would force that, and people just loved it for arrangements. But here's the apple that comes from it. And the quince apples are just incredibly fragrant. They are so much more fragrant than our regular apples. And they can be eaten like our regular apples, or make jam out of them. We used to make jam out of them when we were kids. Enkianthus, this is that Enkianthus perulatus that I was showing you earlier in the red. This is it when it's blooming in spring. So you've got these really nice bookends of beauty in the spring and in the fall. And there are those little pitcher-like flowers. And this one here is another Enkianthus campanulatus. And we're coming down. I think I'll have to go much faster. Here we go. That one there is another. Jenkins has a big, beautiful one of these pink or red-veined Enkianthus. Gorgeous, like a tree type. And again, we have Cornus amomum. This is a really beautiful one too. Dogwood, silky dogwood. Again, you can cut the stems and use that as poke it into stream banks to stabilize stream banks. One that I asked Longwood to get was Zenobia pulverulenta, which is the Woodlander's blue dusty Zenobia. This is really beautiful. And again, this is in the Heath family. Take a look at those flowers. They're just beautiful. And when I saw it, I just said, okay, we've got to get this for Longwood so I could teach it. So we got it. This one here is another interesting one. This is called candy corn. This is one a release from Proven Winners that stays that way all summer long, but then gets this beautiful bloom. They are fantastic cut flowers. Fantastic cut flowers. So if you're looking for something for cut flowers or just in mass, it's beautiful. Another small cherry. This is a beautiful Prunus Giacomonte, a bush cherry. And it doesn't get any taller than maybe 8 feet, maybe a little less. This is Calycanthus chinensis, the Chinese sweet shrub. And this is the one that's crossed with our Calycanthus floridus to give us Hartlage wine, which is a very popular one right now. In fact, I have a YouTube and I have a Hartlage wine on there. And I think there's several thousand people who hit on that just in the last month or so, because they had either heard about it. But Hartlage wine is a really beautiful one with the cross, because they have the dark flowers and with the light flowers, and you get like a almost like a rose colored flower. And there's our native, and a burgundy form too. So this is again a good one for stabilizing hillsides. They spread through rhizomes, and yeah. Stephanandra, this is another good one. Stephanandra crispa. This one's here is a low one, and it's this one here is called incisa, and it has lots of tiny little fancy leaves. They're just so, it looks like a little tapestry when you get close to it. And the flowers are really small, but it's just pretty ground cover. Okay, maybe a weed. I see a weed up there, but for the most part, not a lot of weeds. There's a little flower, and look at the leaves, how fancy they are. Aesculus pavia, this is the red buckeye. If this is in bloom in your garden, it's a shrub. It's typically a shrub. The hummingbirds are there. You may not have seen one, but the hummingbirds are there because they follow this plant all the way up the East Coast. And also the Chionanthus virginicus, male, female, and separate plants. Male's much showier, but the female produces those wonderful olive-like fruit because they're in the olive family, and the birds just love them. This is a shrub tree shrub. And there's the flowers. Flowers sit underneath because there is an Asian form that the flowers sit above. And I want to say the azaleas and rhododendrons. Philadelphia used to be an epicenter for rhododendron and azalea production up until about the 70s. And then it started to decline because people thought that they weren't in vogue anymore. But it was a very, very popular plant here in our region. And this is the Gerard hybrids. And of course, this one here is the Hino Crimson. The Hino Crimson is really one of the old favorites. Beautiful, bright, brilliant color. And then, of course, we have the deciduous azaleas too. Lots of different types of deciduous azaleas. And the next one is mountain laurel. Calmia latifolia, the mountain laurel, which if you've never been to the Laurel Highlands up in Pennsylvania, I highly recommend going for a walk up a little bit of the Appalachian Trail. It's like a big tunnel of mountain laurel. Special place. Amelanchier, if you don't have them on your property, you should have some. This plant is found all the way from the Arctic all the way down into Mexico, from the East Coast to the West Coast. That's how important this plant is. Native Americans valued this plant very highly. And summer staple sensations. This was the place I went. This was Proven Winners testing ground. This was the entrance to the property, and this was the improvement over Annabelle, the hydrangea arborescens. This has a stiffer stem, has a bigger head. You can keep cutting this all summer long and it keeps blooming. It just keeps going and going and going and going. It's spectacular. It's called hydrangea arborescens ab2, or the incredible smooth hydrangea. This one here, it was at Winter Tour, and this one here is called arborescens, hydrangea arborescens radiata, because it has the radius around the outside, and all the plants, the flowers in the middle are fertile. This one here is the first Endless Summer. I actually helped to introduce this one for Bailey's, and really I put this in here so you can see that this was the first remontant hydrangea, but it's not the best one. If they had their choice now and this was to come out, they would say this would not make the cut. But because it was so unusual at the time, it was an important one. But I'm putting this in here for you to look at the Endless Summer line, because there's off that line, off of this plant, came a lot of other ones that are far superior than this one. And I'm telling you that because I want you to have the best in your garden. And this one here is another one, hydrangea arborescens. This is the Invincible Mini Mauvette. When I saw this one, I would go, oh my gosh, everybody needs to have it. You could put this into a little tub. You can have it in a container. You don't have to put it in the ground. But if you want to put it in the ground, this would be the edging plant. Instead of planting perennials, you plant this. It's beautiful. It is really stunning. Mini Mauvette. And then we have the Incredible Blush. This one was the first plant to help with fundraising. It was the first time that anybody ever thought of using a plant to raise money for charity for the American Breast Cancer Society. And so this plant has an incredible background. Millions and millions of dollars have been sent to the American Breast Foundation or American Cancer for breast cancer. This was the plant that opened up the doors for a lot of people. This one here, I love this one here. This is called Aisha. It's a most unusual type of hydrangea. It is in the macrophylla type, the big leaf hydrangea, the Asian form. And take a look at those little spoon-like flowers. That is so textural. It just blows you away when you look at it, and it catches water in it too. So it's just so amazing. And here's another one that looks almost like fancy cabbage or cauliflower or something. It's called Curly Sparkle Big Leaf Hydrangea. The flower on that is amazing. Look at that. It changes colors. It keeps changing colors the whole time. This one here is Tokyo Delight, another great one with a radiata around the outside and then the blue fertile flowers on the inside. That's what it looks like after it's been fertilized. And then this one here is, oh gosh, this is my heartthrob, Pinky Winky. I have it in a container out back, which is a tree form, and it got split during a storm, and I went to salvage it, and it bounced back like an old pro. I was able to make a whole wreath out of it. So it does really well to make wreaths and other dried arrangements. And this one here is called Unique. Another one, notice the flower heads are really big, and it's a shrub tree form. This one here is the one I was telling you about, the other one that's related to the deer. This is Cyrilla racemiflora or tie. And this one here is the hooves of the deer that actually get this to grow from the root system. Found from about Virginia all the way down to the tip of South America. That's how important this plant is. So it has a real important place for migratory birds. And this was at my aunt's house. She just loved oddball plants, and nobody had this around when she had hers, but it was really nice to watch all the insects and the birds come and eat it in the wintertime. Clethra alnifolia hummingbird. This is another good one. Plant it, forget it, right along a stream. And this is what it looks like up close. There's Ruby Spice, a taller one, much taller. And Franklinia. If you don't have a Franklinia, you have to find a really good spot for it, but it loves to be partnered with Pawpaw. That's who it was found with when it was first discovered. So if you don't have those two, you might want to consider it. This one here is Ed Goucher. This is an abelia. Blooms from spring all the way through till frost. Very fragrant too. And our Aesculus parviflora, the bottlebrush buckeye, which attracts a lot of butterflies and hummingbirds and you name it, and it just keeps planting itself. It drops its seeds and they grow underneath, and it's a riparian plant, so your stream gets stabilized. Everything works like a fine-tooth comb. It's wonderful. The double knockout, I have it here so you could see what it looks like. They said that they would have picked that over the single knockout if that were the case. I actually helped introduce that one too. And Cyrus canadensis, Ruby Falls. This is actually a shrub. It's a red bud, but it's not a tree form. It's a falling form. So they put it into the shrub category. And of course, you're all familiar with Lagostromia, which is the crepe myrtle. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. So many different shapes and forms. And we can thank Dr. Creech from the the National Arboretum for doing all that research. And Cogygria, which is Cotinus cogygria. Oh, this is the tunnel of that. This is the tunnel. This is at Texas, Dallas Arboretum with the crepe myrtles. This is the little guy, young lady, it's called Smoke Bush. And that stays in that container. It doesn't get any bigger than that. It's so cute. And the yellow form, Ancot, which is Golden Spirit, Smoke Bush. That's it when it's in bloom. And this one here, you should see it in bloom now. I have one outside my front door. I love it. It's Heptacodium myconioides, the seven sunflower or Heptacodium. And this one here was brought to the country in 1906 with E.H. Wilson, and it just sat in the National Arboretum. And then when they went on a plant expedition in 1980, somebody discovered it again, and they brought it back, and it became the hit of the trip. So that then those flowers, when they're fertilized, the sepals grow out, and they're going to be red or crimson. This one and the last, this one here, and then look at the leaves. They're gorgeous with those three veins. And that's the calyxes that after they've been fertilized. That's what it looks like. So it looks like it blooms twice. And I have the spring blooming flower of Cornus moss, but I really wanted to concentrate on the berry. Edible, really good, used in Chinese medicine, and they start to ripen in August. And if you have an officinalis, that ripens in September. And then last but not least is the Caryopteris exclandinensis bluebeard. And this one here just is spectacular. I saw this at Walnut Hill down in Maryland, and I love the way they had this in this rock garden, trough garden. So yeah, that's the last of them. And if you would kindly take a look at this, if you want to give me a review for this talk, I would love it. You can either go to the HTTPS talk and then put in the code word talk, and you could give me your commentary about this talk. And while we're waiting on that, Amy, do you have any questions for me?
I'm coming back, Eva, I promise.
That's okay. I'm a little over.
I hid myself, so now I have to come back. Okay, there we are. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, what a plant journey we just went on with you. That was so many awesome shrubs, and I appreciate the plugs along the way for Jenkins.
Oh my gosh.
We do have a great garden shop, which you can buy plants from us, basically kind of like mid to late April through October. So we really sell plants throughout the season. And a lot of what you talked about, we have even growing at Jenkins for people to come and see it in all the different seasons.
That's true.
And like I mentioned, if you missed my intro, Jenkins is free admission. So you can come and, like Eva said, looking before you shop and buy things. Good to see it kind of planted in place, as well as look at how it is in pots in the garden shop. So we would be excited if you're local or not local and want to come road trip to Jenkins. We would love to have you.
I have to tell you something. I bought 2 metasequoias, little ones. They were little. I bought them for, we had that tornado that came through here in 21, and my acupuncturist lost all her big trees, and she's from China. So I took her 2 of those metasequoia, and let me tell you something, they are doing great.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm so excited that I got them at Jenkins. And she was so thrilled. She goes, I can't believe it. I said, well, you have 2 children, so I figured I'd get you 2 of them and plant them in your garden, and you have something now to look at.
Oh, that's so great.
They lost their whole side of their house. It was very upsetting.
Yeah. Well, yes, while you leave that slide up, I'm happy to ask you questions as they've come in. So one question is about berry shrubs that are male female. How many male plants do you need to get female plants to berry?
Okay, so if it's like a holly, American holly, you need 1 male for they usually have 5 times the amount of flowers that females. So that kind of tells you that 5 other plants, maybe every 5 females, 1 male. And you could go further than that too if you have a really good year for pollination. But that's what I would recommend.
Okay, great. This question is, how long-lived is Caryopteris?
Caryopteris can last a very long time. The best way to keep it living is every spring cut it to the ground and rejuvenate it, because that rejuvenation will help the roots to renew themselves and to, really branch out. So yes, or if you don't want to cut it every year, cut it every other year, every 3rd year. That would
Okay.
be a good practice.
Okay.
They could
Great.
last a long, long time.
So speaking about kind of pruning and I know you were talking that you don't necessarily have to prune, but maybe cutbacks and things like that. Is that information that you included in your book, Shrubs and Hedges?
I do, and I have a whole section on hydrangeas in there. And
Oh,
I
nice.
sent my book to Michael Durr to review. He said, "Oh, I'm not going to review your book." He goes, "I'm not going to review your book because then you're going to be upset with me if I don't like it." And I said, "I don't care. Tell me." So he said, "I'm really jealous of your hydrangea section." And
Nice.
I said, "Michael, why?" He goes, "Because I never thought of putting a chart together for the bloom time and what could be cut and what can't be cut." But I also have a whole section in there on pruning.
Okay, wonderful. That's
Yeah.
good to know. And again, for those of you who are local, right now we do have a couple of copies left of Eva's Shrubs and Hedges book in the garden shop at Jenkins if you want to come pick one up. For those of you who maybe out there don't know Michael Durr, can you just explain who Michael Durr is to them?
Oh yeah, Michael Durr is he started just maybe about 10 years, maybe 5 or 6 years before I got my degree. He was already a professor at University of Georgia. And he decided that he was going to write the first book on woody plants for a manual. And I had that first woody plant manual, and it was paperback, so it fell apart. I mean, I wound up
Hmm.
having to throw it away. I felt really bad because I had it for so long, but he wrote a series of them, and the last one that he wrote in that original series was book six edition, the sixth edition, which kept getting fatter and fatter. And I didn't mind spending $150 for a book if it had everything in it. I was happy because he would list all the cultivars of each plant and give you a thumbs up or thumbs down. He was very honest in his writing. And that's what I really liked about him. So when I was a garden communicator, and I am a garden communicator, when I went to Georgia to visit his nursery and his arboretum, um, I got to know him in person. So I keep in touch with him. He's a real good guy.
That's awesome. This question just came in. Can you tell us a little bit about Elysium?
Alyssium floridana, Yes, that one here is a newer plant that came in, I want to say maybe within the last 10 years because Stoneleigh has been open for 8 years. And I remember Ethan coming up, Ethan, who's the executive director of Stoneleigh. He was working in the South and he said, "Well, I have to have Elysium. I have to have Elysium." And so he tried Florida Sunshine, but that one there wasn't as hardy as some of the other ones were. So Longwood tried them, and they have them underneath their taxodium by the outdoor amphitheater in the back section. If you go to Longwood Gardens, there's a grouping of them there, and they've been there now for quite a while,
Hmm.
testing and trialing them. And they kind of look like a mountain laurel. If you're not sure what a mountain laurel looks like in a Elysium, they look very similar. But when
Hmm.
you rub an Elysium leaf, it smells delicious like
Mm.
anise. And the flowers hang down and they're burgundy, like very much like the calycanthus color flower.
Right.
But it's worth having in your garden because it will give you a different type of visual than some other plants, and it's evergreen. Yeah.
Wonderful. And I believe we have Elysium, if you were to kind of come into Jenkins in the main entrance, or if you were kind of on the stone patio outside of the education center, kind of like right underneath that, up against that little stone wall, we do have at least one Elysium that comes to mind that is growing there.
You do. That's right. You do. I've taken quite a number of pictures there.
Yeah, wonderful.
Is that everything? I'm going to give you all my
Yeah.
email again. If you want to listen to my podcast, you're more than welcome to. We'd love listening to it. All you have to do is go to the website. It's for free. And it's on all major platforms. And we're also transitioning some to YouTube. And I also have a YouTube station too, which gives you plant ID information. So you can kind of go to that and see. I give a video of a plant. Every day, a new one pops up.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
You have your hands in everything, Eva.
The plant world, I do.
Yeah, it's so great. Well, um, thank you again for being with us tonight and sharing all of this amazing shrub knowledge. And hopefully that inspired some of you to get out and maybe plant something this fall. This is a great time of year to get woody plants in the ground. And so I, again, encourage you to come shop at Jenkins or shop around at your local garden centers. And yeah, Eva, thank you so much. And
Oh, you're
we'll have to have
welcome.
you back again for another topic because I know
It
you
was great.
talk on so many different things. So
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
all right. And thank you everyone for being with us. And hopefully we'll see you next month. All right. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.